What is up, Astros fans? Welcome to episode 61 of the Believe in Astros podcast on the Believe Podcasting Network. I am Jeff Balke alongside my partner, Jeff Blum, who, despite being in Pittsburgh, seems to be enjoying some really nice weather. What's the JMI today, Blummer?
Oh, dude, I think it's going to be like a high of 75 or something crazy. It's sunny and gorgeous outside, and only needed one layer on top of my dress shirt last night. So that was a
Nice.
very good evening.
So Julia must be pleased at the moment that she is
Oh
not.
man,
She's not
yeah,
in
it's a mood
multi-layers.
enhancer when it's nice outside for her.
No doubt. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, and of course on YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe to keep up with us, and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Believe in Astros. Find me at Jeff Balke and Blummer at Blummer27 all over social media. Also, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get alerted to new videos. We're at nearly 500 subscribers, but we want to
Hey,
be over 1,000 by the time Jose Altuve gets back, guys.
that's very doable.
I think that's extremely doable. It's baseball season. Everybody's involved. Thanks to everybody who's given us 5 stars and left reviews on Apple. If you haven't, just make it happen already. It's time. I think you've
I'm
waited
tired of
long.
waiting.
Yeah, you've hesitated long enough. And this is a direct message to all my family members, right? Go
Yeah,
out there
they're the
and like it.
first.
Come on.
Yeah,
Do that. Hit it with 5 stars.
I thought we were the favorite kids.
You would think so.
Yeah.
I'm an only child, so I better be the favorite kid.
Oh boy, you have competition.
That's right. Obviously, send us your comments and questions. For example, what the hell's going on with Mauricio Dubon?
Who cares? Let him do it. It looks
Exactly.
good.
Which, by the way, what is going on with Mauricio Dubon sounds a bit like the name of a teen comedy movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it sounds like it's like. But we're going to talk about him because whatever it is, can I have some of it? Talking about sponsors. Listen, if you want to sponsor a podcast, and not just any podcast, but one of the great podcasts of all time, I would place it up there against anybody.
We are the Hunter Brown of podcasts.
100%. Yeah, we're the young
On the
upstart
yeah,
badasses.
on the MLB pipeline, we are getting recognized.
That's right. That's exactly right. We're in the top prospect list. Just you can't. I mean, Blummer, how glowing would our praise be? Let's be honest.
It would be amazing. We are devoted. We are loyal. We are energized. I mean,
Yes.
we are the 5-tool podcast.
We are the 5-tool podcast. So hit us up at believeинastros@gmail.com and let's do this. Let's get this happening. Look, I'm telling you right now, especially if it's food, forget it. I will
Yeah,
literally.
you don't even have to pay us in money. You could just pay us in sandwiches.
I will literally eat food on every episode. I'll have a chicken wing in my mouth at all times, or whatever.
Hey, you're a sandwich guy. Have you been to
I am.
Pittsburgh to eat a Primanti Brothers sandwich?
I've never been to Pittsburgh before.
Oh, okay.
Tell me
It's
about
basically
this
a deli sandwich slammed with French fries and coleslaw, and it's pretty good.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That sounds so good. It's funny. I was just discussing the other day how I think it's either Cuba or the Dominican Republic. I can't remember which one, where they make their burgers and they put the French fries on the burger.
Ooh.
And so I'm all in on that 100%. What's the name of the place again?
Primanti, Primanti Brothers.
Okay.
It's Pittsburgh famous.
Well, I will be going to Pittsburgh next week. I will be checking United Airlines in about 5 minutes to find my flight.
There you go.
Sounds amazing. All right.
Good sell. See, we can do it.
See, look at that. Look at that. Oh, right out of the gate, we're already promoting a company that isn't even in Houston. We're giving props to our opponents right now. Okay. I went to see the Space Cowboys game on Saturday. As you can see from my hat, if you're watching this on YouTube. First game of a night doubleheader, which was only 7 innings, very fast game. In fact, I don't think anybody actually knew it was over when it ended. It was just like the players just started walking off the field, and everybody was like, "Is that it? Is that the?" But it was really fun experience. The ballpark Constellation Field is awesome, and I get to see a lot of up and coming young Astros. I mean, Pedro Leon, Justin Dearden, Corey Lee. Joe Perez, watch that guy. That guy.
Okay.
I could see him. JJ Matijevic, Parker Mashinsky was doing a rehab stint. The guy that was really interesting to me, though, is a guy named Jaden Murray. I know he played a
Hmm.
little bit in spring training. He was part of the deal that brought Trey Mancini here. He came over from Tampa Bay, throws his fastballs in the mid 90s, and he has this crazy sweeping slider. Um, and we need to watch him. He was in Double A last year. He's in Triple A this year. That's a guy a lot of people are talking about as someone to keep an eye on. And I watched him pitch. He was, he gave up 4 runs. It was a great out. Well, he gave up 2, I think. But he really does have he does have big league stuff for sure. And I got to see it up close because it only costs $33 to sit like in the third row. It's like, talk about a bargain for
Yeah, good
baseball.
food, good beer, great location. I
Yes.
mean, it's an intimate ballpark. And like you said, the Astros actually have some legit guys
Yeah,
that might actually have to contribute throughout the course of the season playing there.
that's right. I mean, I wasn't even there on like Forrest Whitley night or anybody else, but it was, yeah. I mean, it was pretty. And Corey Lee threw out a runner. His arm looks good behind the
Hey,
plate.
hey, he's thrown three or four guys out now. He
Yeah.
looks real good defensively back there.
that play that he made the night I was there, he hopped up and threw that guy out, and it was not close. I mean, that guy was not going to get a steal. So it was pretty impressive watching him. And I will tell you this too: like Pedro Leon he's a stocky gentleman. He's got some.
Yes,
He's got
he's
some.
built.
Yeah, he is built like a You know what? I mean, I don't know what to even say. Like a tank. I'll say tank. That seems more polite. More
I'm gonna say
polite.
what's
Don't want to.
appropriate. You can't say I mean, shit house or
You
anything
can't
anymore.
say
That's not
big shit house.
nice.
That's not nice. It's
Yeah,
also
I don't know
more.
where that came from. What a terrible idea.
It's a terrible idea, and a lot of times they use it to describe women. Like that can't be flattering. Like
No.
that's not
Yeah, we need
cool.
to. Yeah, we need to cancel that.
Exactly. If we're gonna cancel anything, let's cancel Brick Shithouse. Let's start
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
All right. So the Astros won yesterday, and the bats finally broke out. Tell me what you have been seeing from them last couple of games of getting some hits, but especially yesterday that win over Pittsburgh.
No, you kind of nailed it with the back-to-back games. You know what? It's refreshing, and it's because I don't know how you felt, but we all know it's in there. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of unleashing it, and I'm not sure. There's so many factors that go into
Hmm.
creating, good hitting atmospheres, and we've been so spoiled in Houston with these lineups. And in years past, we've watched guys like Chas McCormick, Jeremy Pena, some of these young guys that have had to step in for the Carlos Correas that leave or the George Springers that leave,
Hmm.
and trying to fill voids where they've been protected by at least 7 guys in a lineup. Because if you think about it, when Altuve and Brantley are in this lineup, the Jeremy Penas, the Chas McCormicks, the Mauricio Dubons, David Hensleys, these guys are hitting eighth and ninth. So there's no expectation put on these guys. And I'm
Right.
trying to imagine what it's like to be in a lineup without Altuve or without Brantley and realize you're one of those guys that's filling in, and you're filling in the sense that you're a guy that's playing. You're not your job as a utility guy
Hmm.
is not to become Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, or an Alex Bregman, Jeremy Payne. You can't fill those shoes. You've just got to go out there and play your game. So I think early on there were guys maybe trying to do a little too much. That's why we saw so much swing and miss.
Yeah.
And I think finally they've kind of turned the corner, hopefully, in the sense that they're like, look, I am who I am. I'm going to go out. I'm going to try and do the best at being David Hensley, Jake Myers,
Corey
Chas
Julks.
McCormick, Corey Julks, and just be who I am. And Corey Julks has actually been
Right.
the best at being Corey
He
Julks.
really has. It's been impressive how mature he is to just come in here and be
His
like,
at bats are awesome.
yeah, I'm just going to come do my thing. No pressure.
Hmm.
That's been very
And he's
impressive.
another guy that's stout and
Yeah.
and hammers the ball. And I was actually talking to Steve Sparks. He had a great comp physically, and that compact swing. He looks like Tommy Pham.
Oh, right. There's a
I
good
thought it was
pull.
awesome.
That's a
Command the
good
zone,
pull.
smash it when it's in the zone, and hit the ball hard. I thought that was a really good comp.
That is a very good comparison. There's a great story on MLB.com about batting averages and how mainly they were looking at uh, is it BABIP? BABIP?
Yeah,
That's how
BABIP. Yeah,
BABIP.
batted balls in play.
BABIP. And they said it was a fascinating story because they said that BABIP overall is only up slightly for lefties. It's up more for righties than for lefties,
Hmm.
which is kind of interesting. But they said unless you factor in balls not hit on the ground. And they said for line drives, BABIP is way up for everybody. And their conclusion is that it's because we don't have any more infielders on the grass, and that because and that was something you said recently about how if you
Mm-hmm.
were going to shift, you would just say, look, you can't be on the grass, but you can be anywhere you want on the infield. They think that that's one of the primary things, is that they're just closer to the home plate, so it's harder to make those plays when the guys are just hitting over them, right?
Yep.
I thought that was a fascinating analysis, frankly.
I have a note in my little notebook that I take, and when I started to read some of these articles talking about the shift being eliminated, what it
Mhm.
means for hitters, and I got to go back to when the shift is being employed, even back to the art of hitting. When you're talking to Ted Williams back in, he's doing interviews in 1960 and 19, whatever it was,
Mhm.
and he said that teams shifted him when he played. So Ted Williams' theory was, well, if I can't hit it through him, I'm going to hit it over him. So that brought in the idea in this modern era of I'm going to lift to the pull side. And that means I'm going to try and hit bombs over these guys' heads. And that's what a lot of hitters did. So you lost that line drive swing. Now that the shift has been limited, you can still have guys playing a pull shift or trying to cover as much ground as they can.
Mhm.
But now the idea of not having to go over the defense allows me to kind of angle my attack angle coming through the zone a little bit lower and start to hit more line drives. And I think it's
Mhm.
encouraging the line drive as opposed to trying to hit it over. And that's one thing that you don't have to worry about adjusting where I direct the ball to try and go to the
Yeah.
opposite field. I can just hit a hard line drive up the middle and adjust off that, and I'll be fine. So it's kind of encouraging to me to hear the word line drive used more often in hitters' talk.
Well, it certainly puts more people on the base paths, and with steals up across the league and
It encourages
percentage.
contact too.
Yes, it's the same thing you and I, Blummer, have been talking about. Is this idea that you know good things happen when the bat meets the ball, right? And
100%.
when you get the ball in play, good things tend to happen on the offense. Regardless, I mean, maybe it's an error, maybe it's an infield hit, maybe it's a line drive, whatever it is. But you get people on the base paths. You get and with the steals up and the percentage of steal success rate way up. I mean,
Hmm.
you're really, I mean, honestly, the rules changes are kind of making the game fun, because you're
Yep.
getting a lot of activity. I haven't looked to see what home run numbers look like this year, if they're around the same. Um,
I think I will. There's several factors in that. I
mhm.
mean, some of the warmer weather early on, and
Yeah,
then
that's
somebody,
true.
there's still a lot of conspiracies out there about the ball being juiced.
In
The
in
Goldilocks
Yankee
ball that we,
Stadium, right?
Yankee Stadium is the size of my hotel room. I mean, and then you put these behemoths in there, and they can smash balls out of there in a heartbeat. But yeah,
Mhm.
there's some conspiracy theories going around. But I think the home run ball is actually up a little bit.
Mm,
But I think it goes back to to the philosophy of hitting line drives as hard as you
yeah.
can because those mistakes are going to go out of the ballpark.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, too, like contact is one thing. Hard contact
Hmm.
is a totally other thing. And I'll just insert this, just because I feel like I feel like it's obvious. But since we're talking about that, Mauricio Dubon is a hitting
Doobie.
machine right now. And here's the big key. And this one, I didn't know this until I read McTaggart had something about this. He's only struck out once in 29
Yep.
plate appearances. I mean, that's remarkable, and that's exactly what you want. Make contact. He even hit a ball like 100 miles an hour the other day, which you don't really expect Mauricio Dumont to probably do very often. Um, but he's hitting the ball. He's just taking it as it comes. I've got to feel like the shift for a guy like him is really helping because he does hit the opposite way some. He does hit line drives. That's his main focus, is trying to just drive the ball, and he doesn't strike out.
Hmm.
And just
No,
look at
his
him
I
hitting 357 with an 800 OPS.
dude's raking, man. But that's the idea of just be who you are, be who you can be,
Right.
and just maximize your opportunities. And that's exactly what he's done. There was a couple of at bats in Minnesota where two strikes, curveball almost in the dirt, and he just puts it in play, beats out an infield single. That should be his game, is line drive up the middle over the second baseman's head as a right-handed hitter, and then, ground balls with two strikes, just put the ball in play and force the defense to make plays. And he's going to be, a very nice piece in the bottom part of your lineup. In the last 2 days, he has actually played a key role in
Mm-hmm.
putting that ball in play and continuing innings, because you know as well as I do, if the 7, 8, 9 guys in the Astros lineup can just flip that lineup and force, the Chazes, the Bregmans, Jordan, Abreu, Tucker, force them to hit with runners on, your team is going to be so much better. So with the bottom of the lineup doing what they do, that's what's leading to some of these W's for the Astros.
I mean, flipping that lineup is a big deal, especially now that you have Chazzy Fizz leading off. Like, dude, here's the thing. I feel a little bit bad for Jeremy Pena, but the reality is, I said it. You and I talked about whether Jeremy Pena should hit first or not, and
Hmm.
one of the arguments against was that he strikes out too much. Right? He still does not have a great command of the strike zone. He's young, and that's going to happen. But you can't really put that guy in the leadoff spot if you're not going to get on base. McCormick, though, who would have thought of Chas McCormick as a leadoff guy? But here's this guy who hits the other way all the time, who's great against lefties. He doesn't strike out a ton. He's a power threat, obviously. But man, McCormick.
Well, and he's, getting the opportunity in that leadoff role and then having the success that he's having is it's kind of forced Jake Myers on the back burner, because
Yes.
I just thought of this now when we were talking about it, because
Mm-hmm.
if Chaz is hitting seventh, eighth, ninth, that's an interchangeable spot in the lineup.
Wow, that's a good point, Blummer.
At the top of the lineup and being successful and putting together great at bats, that's not an interchangeable spot, so to speak, unless Jake can actually go out there and have those at bats like Chaz is. And I'm not sure that Dusty's convinced about that.
You are 100% right about that. I had not really thought about the impact on Jake Myers other than he's just playing well. But yeah, that's a
Hmm.
big deal. You can't just yank a guy out of the leadoff spot if they're hitting well there.
Yeah.
Um,
And
I
your
mean,
offense is going.
yeah, you just it's that's a big deal. And I mean, we've talked about Jake Myers on here about what to do with him and sort of how to handle that. But I think this kind of solves some of those problems, at least for now, until Jose Altuve
Yeah,
gets
kind of
back.
inadvertently, right? It wasn't
Yeah,
like this wasn't a purposeful move. It was just like, hey, let's try Chaz up there. Now it's working, and you're like, okay, we
yeah.
can't move that.
Well, and the thing is, too, Chas McCormick. Look, you and I talked about this a little bit at the end of the season last year. Chas had a good year at the plate last year. He was not a below average hitter by any stretch of the
No,
imagination.
he puts together a competent at bat,
Yes, and he's smart with the strike zone.
sneaky
Um,
pop.
yeah, he's got sneaky pop, especially the opposite field.
Whew.
He that's most of, he hit more home runs to the opposite field last year than he did to left field, which is remarkable, which never happens.
Hmm.
And so yeah, he's a guy who he seems mature enough to sort of take that spot too. And maybe that helps Pena move him down a little bit, give him some at bats lower than the lineup.
His
Um,
at bats have gotten better. Jeremy Pena's
yeah,
have.
yeah. Well, he's gonna hit. He's gonna come around eventually.
He's way
Guys,
too stinking talented, man. That
that's
guy's
right.
awesome.
Guys have kind of adjusted. They're figuring him out. They know that breaking pitch is difficult for him. He's still struggling, with breaking, and especially, in a couple of these, I'm going to give him a break on some of these because, man, a couple of those games, particularly Minnesota, where I mean, 2-3 inches off the plate. Like who?
Those shadows from hell.
It
I
was.
mean, it was
Oh, I know.
brutal.
Yeah, Minnesota look. I would. That looks like a terrible place
Three
to play.
o'clock starts in Minnesota need to be outlawed.
Ooh. Well, they make them at 3 o'clock because if they have them at 9, it's gonna be too damn cold to be on the field.
Yeah,
It's
true.
like, anyway, that's ridiculous. Also, the pitching starting to look right again.
Yeah.
Fromber, Christian Javier, Hunter Brown, all with excellent and deep into games going. Brown went 97 pitches. I think Fromber had 107 last night. Um, these guys are starting to look like the guys we expected them to be. It only
Hmm.
really took one start for a couple of them. Hunter Brown, he just came out of the gate that way. But that's really encouraging, especially because it'll help to settle the bullpen down and there won't be so much pressure on them to go long stretches.
No, completely. It's how they attack the zone. It felt like the first start or the first time through the rotation, everybody was just kind of trying to feel things out and see where they were at,
Yeah.
and it led to walks, hits. That was the weirdest thing is watching the opposing teams have more hits than innings pitched against us. That's something that I think a lot of these guys prided themselves on was going 6 and 7 innings, giving up 3 to 5 hits
Mm-hmm.
and handing it off to the bullpen. But the second time through the rotation, things look like they're trending in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
You're starting to see better pitches. You're seeing guys go a little bit deeper in games, and obviously that pitch count's going to start to ramp up. Fromber had okay first start, better
Mm-hmm.
second start. His
Yep.
third start last night was amazing.
Yep.
Walks were a little bit up, but he's able to get out of the damage. Christian Javier, all of a sudden, the fastball is looking like it should be. It
Yep.
normally does. But I was really impressed with Hunter Brown,
Ugh.
just understanding the opportunity to stop a bad streak and go out there and protect his bullpen, get deep in
Yep.
that game. And we saw that more traditional 6 innings, go to your 1 inning guys, high leverage, and get the hell out of there and get on that plane. And we saw Fromber back him up. So tonight, Christian Javier has a
Yep.
golden opportunity to continue that, which I imagine he will. And you are spot on about what the starting pitching means to the bullpen. Because if you
Huge.
can back those guys up and use them appropriately
Right.
and protect those arms, they're only going to be better.
Yeah, and if you only have to use guys in long relief, if you do it once a week, fine. But if you're
Hmm.
trotting Renel Blanco out there and
Every other day,
every other day, and
his arm's
Brian,
going to fall
I
off.
mean Brian Abreu's already thrown in like six. He's already appeared in six
He's leading the
games.
bullpen in appearances, yeah,
Yeah, it's
and
like
he had a couple of multi-inning outings to begin.
he did. You can't really do that kind of. I mean, you're going to really tax them. And also, it's funny you mentioned that. There's been some weird stuff. Like the Astros, they've walked more guys than they typically do. Like
Hmm.
you said, the hits per innings pitched have been up, which is really off for them. Also, offensively, they've struck out a million times, which is very
Ugh.
unlike the Astros as well. So I feel like there's going to be some, in this case, progression to the mean rather than regression to the mean. I think we'll start to see that. We're seeing it with the pitching. We've seen it the last couple of days with the hitting. I said last week I thought there was that offense was going to start erupting. I felt
Yeah.
like there were just too many. There's a lot of hit balls that just were getting caught, or a lot of strikeouts that didn't feel like strikeouts, or in some cases simply were not strikeouts. I mean, thank you, Major League officiating. But I do feel
Oof.
like with the bullpen, you're right. These guys getting it 6 innings out, and then you go 7, 8, 9, or 7 innings out and you go 8, 9, where you can pitch Presley and Abreu and Stanek and Montero and all these guys on their sort of normal routines. It's a huge difference because this bullpen is really, really, really good if you use them correctly. But if you overuse them, you're going to be in trouble.
Well, yeah, they're built a particular way, and
Mm-hmm.
they're built in a great way. But a lot of
Yeah,
it's predicated on the starting pitching being able to go deep. They don't
yeah,
have, it's not a Tampa Bay Rays, and I'm not, this is no
mm-mm,
offense to what Tampa Bay is doing, but
no,
Tampa Bay hates their pitchers facing a lineup more than twice.
right,
So in order to be able to get through a ball game, you're going to have 3 or 4 guys that are extended and can give
yeah,
you another time through the lineup. And they just don't have those guys in the Astros bullpen because Dusty Baker's old school. He's got old school pitchers with
yep,
old school mentalities.
he
They're
does.
built for the long haul. They like getting deep in games and eating up innings and then handing it off to those 1 or 2 inning guys just to finish things off. It's
And they
just
don't
built differently.
they're so calm about it. There's really this is a
But
team
the
where the pitch.
expectation of your
Yeah,
role and understanding that is why they're so
yeah.
calm, is
No,
because it's a routine for them.
it's also why, again, no offense to Tampa Bay, they're 10-0, which is remarkable. But let me just tell you something. I just don't think it's sustainable. Like I don't think you see that with Tampa Bay every year. There's like they look
Well,
really
they've
really
run
good,
guys in and out of their bullpen.
and it just seems like it's going to eat guys up over the
Yeah.
course of time. I just can't imagine it. So there was a story also that I kind of wanted to get your take on. It's kind of funny story in Athletic. Ken Rosenthal wrote a story about how this, not just steals are up, but how the Yankees have been employing a technique that hasn't really been used in a while, and that's they call it the shuffle or the hop, where a guy stands at first base and then kind of hops before he takes off, sort of like
Hmm.
gives himself an advantage, and it's working. Um, I'm curious if you ever saw that employed, because it has been employed before, just not wildly, especially in the new era of data and analytics where people just weren't stealing. But now this year, with the new rules and the advantages, you got guys doing this, and they showed a couple of them, and it's kind of funny watching because they're like doink, and then they're off to the races. And the guy who sort of invented all this, I forget his name. He's like in his 70s now. He said that. And he's at the pit. He's with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, that's what
I think
he's.
his last name is Roberts, maybe.
Yes, Roberts. That is correct,
I
Roberts.
can't remember his first name. I read a little bit of the article. I didn't have a chance to finish it before it came on.
And yeah, and he was saying that it's essentially like if you got a Ferrari at a stoplight fully stopped, and you've got a Mazda, just a regular old car that's hitting the stoplight at a rolling stop, it's going to get ahead. It's just getting a head start naturally because it's already, the momentum is moving it. And that's kind of how he talked about these steals, is how if there's just a little momentum pushing them in that direction, they're going to go that way. I found it pretty fascinating, and it makes sense. You have to time it correctly, but hey, if it gets you more steals.
Hmm. No, you're looking for any advantage, and it's like playing defense. There's always you watch the infielders. If you go to a big league ball game, or we actually isolate or an infielder, watch they move before the pitch, but it's because they can time it.
Right.
And what the player is doing is trying to time up that movement as the pitch is in the contact zone, so I can react a little bit quicker. Because you know as well as I do, and the idea is that sedentary
Mm-hmm.
position you're in, or inertia. Inertia is going to move quicker than the sedentary object.
Yeah.
And it's that just to keep that perpetual motion going or started a little bit earlier. In this day and age of the pitch clock, you can anticipate a little bit. You can
Yeah.
get a little gutsier with some of these moves that they're able to do, and maybe turn the average base runner into maybe a one or two step guy that can get into second base and steal that bag. So I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it. And that's why before the age of the pitch clock, if you had base stealers, they would get walking leads. There would be a little bit of a lean going towards second base or
Right.
towards third base. That's why pitchers were always implored to come set, take a peek. They're looking to see the lead, yes, but
Yeah.
they're also looking to make sure that runner's not moving. Because if the runner is sedentary and not moving, and I go to the plate, they have to generate that speed and go, so that first
Yeah.
step's not going to be as quick. And if you're coming set and now there's a clock and I have to go home and I have to go to home plate after a couple of disengagements, heck yeah, get that hop, get that walk-in lead, go for it. So it makes sense.
It really does make sense. And if there's anything, like, again, any advantage that you can get, any kind of advantage that you can get is a good thing, because how in the world are you gonna like in this age now where you can see the pitch clock and all those things, you why not take advantage of it? Hey,
Absolutely.
Plummer, how many career steals did you have?
19.
19. Would you say that your number of steals would be up this year if you were?
Yeah, I'd tell you what, I'd be a little more willing to risk it,
Yeah.
because that's the analytic side of the stolen base. Before was, it's like the sack bunt. Why am I going to sacrifice an out when I can get 3 outs to swing and try and drive somebody home?
Yeah.
And the idea of the steal was, if my steal rate because before this year, I think it was at 65, 67%.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's up to, success rates are up to
80.
85%.
Yeah.
So there's an increase on the return on your
Yes.
risk,
Well, you're more
whereas
likely
there
to get a
wasn't
steal than
before.
get caught stealing by a
Yes.
pretty wide margin.
Yeah, and if you can turn me, who is an average runner, not a base stealer, from
Mm-hmm.
maybe 40% into that 65%
Mm-hmm.
range, then I might pick my spots, because if I can go on a two-strike count where I know a breaking ball's coming, or if I know this guy's he's throwing the ball every time at 6 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get my hop and I'm going to go.
According to my stats via Baseball Reference, you were stolen the base 19 times and were caught stealing 19 times. You were a perfect 50%.
Yeah, yeah, perfect 50%, man. Man, if that were true in real life, I'd be hyper successful.
Look, I tell you, the the stealing thing to me has really been fascinating to watch, because guys are just doing. Did you see? I don't know if you saw this play the other day, but there was a play over the weekend where God, I can't remember the team, but they deked somebody into the guy was the second base or the shortstop ran up and faked like he was going to get a double play because the
Hmm.
guy was starting to steal. And so the guy and the batter hit the ball and he popped it up into the outfield. And so when he as soon as he made contact, the shortstop ran over to second base like he was going to catch the ball. And so the guy hauled ass, slid head first. They caught the pop up and just easily threw it back to first to get the double play. I was like, that's pretty smooth. That's pretty good. That's one where you could take advantage of that aggressiveness on the bases. If
That should be a mandatory play for anybody in the middle infield.
you would think, right?
There's so much gratification in knowing that you deke the hell out of somebody and they look like an idiot. David Hensley and Jeremy Pena do a really good job at
Do
that.
they?
There was a play in Minnesota where Nick Gordon was on first base. He took off and there was a base hit and he slid into second base
No, he could
and
have gone.
didn't go to third base. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it works in several different ways, but he thought he was going in to break up a double play and he popped up and the right fielder still had the baseball. And with Gordon's speed, he could have easily gone to third.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty interesting. Those types of things, you got to imagine that teams are going to start employing those things.
No,
Just
that's why
yeah,
no offense, but I mean, that's something that has been a middle infielder is mandatory practice. It should be a fundamental to
yeah,
go over there and try and deke the base runner so that
absolutely.
you can either get that double play or keep him at second base. And the other thing that you need to have mandatory in your back pocket is if a guy steals and it's a passed ball or a wild
Hmm.
pitch, is when the guy pops up and he starts looking for the baseball, you just go, "Hey man, foul ball." And they start to go back to first base. That's when you're like, "Oh man, this guy's buying
Wow.
everything I'm selling. Shoot, I got some beachfront property and a bridge in Arizona.
Plumber, you are devious.
I'll do whatever
You're
it takes, man. Let's go."
a devious young man.
Yeah,
It's like,
boy, shoot. If you're believing what I'm saying to you and I'm on the other team,
fair
that's your
enough.
problem.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, this weekend, like I know we still got to get through the Pittsburgh series, but it is the division leading Rangers currently coming to Minute Maid. Feels like they're kind of like they started off. I mean, they were just insane. What was I think they
They
scored like
wrecked the Phillies.
just unbelievable against the Phillies. They're 6-4, so not exactly like racing out to a big lead. It's kind of a big early season series, though. Given the fact that it is, the Oklahoma City, um, the
Yeah, the
Oklahoma,
South Oklahoma
the
Rangers. It's
South
cool.
Oklahoma Rangers in Mimic Maid Park.
Yep.
Given the fact that it is that, and it's, I mean, I think it's kind of an interesting watermark for the Astros at this point of the season. Wouldn't you think?
I think it's more interesting for the Rangers because it's going to be their
Mhm.
first real opportunity to get inside the division and realize that we all know the American League West goes through the Houston Astros,
Mhm.
and they're going to be riding high. I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually glad there's some more intrigue around it because there
Yeah.
hasn't been for the last 6-7 years.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the Rangers have been terrible, and I hope they
If I
remain
if I'm
terrible.
Texas, I'm upset knowing that Seattle's become the rival in the
Right.
West.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because I think in-state rivalry is great, obviously, but also within the division. Why not? It should be.
Did you get to catch the final round of the Masters? Any of it?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it was one of the windows on my screen as I'm watching the baseball game. I was, TK and I are avid golf fans and
Yeah.
players, so it was a lot of fun to watch what was going on.
Yeah,
I'm
Rom.
always vicariously there.
And it was fascinating too because Tiger had made the cut not by
Oh, poor
just by
guy.
accident, but God, he can't walk. The guy just can't walk. I
And
mean,
those conditions, wet, slippery, and one thing that TV really doesn't do justice is the elevation changes at
oh,
Augusta are ridiculous. So I
that's a
can't even imagine.
that's a really good point you make. I heard a caller on sports radio yesterday, and they mentioned the fact that going to Augusta, you really understand how the undulations of the course are. He said you just can't see them on TV, and so
No,
especially
that
things
that
like that.
the tenth tee and hole at Augusta probably has one of the more drastic elevation changes you'll ever see. And that's why you see guys hitting 3-wood off it and driving at 350 yards, is because it hits this downhill and it just, it's a speed trap. It just shoots downhill and just goes running for days. But I know that if I'm carrying, when I've carried a beer at the Masters, there's gotta be a little tilt to it, because if you're holding a full beer and you just go down thinking it's flat, it's going to be spilling all over your hand. You got to make the adjustment because the angle and the pitch is so drastic,
You
and I'm
gotta
protecting every drop.
you got to make the adjustment. That's
That's what life is about.
You got to make that adjustment. Listen, you can't mess around with Augusta when it comes to walking and beer. Blummer, that is a sage advice.
I'll be here. I'm here for you. I'm here for the
I
listeners.
appreciate
I'm here for you.
Yeah, look, everybody, listen to what Blum is telling you. If you go to Augusta, watch your beer, bro. It's you don't want that stuff spilling. For me, I feel like my biggest problem with the undulations would not be spilling the beer. It would be just simply face planting with the beer, because I wouldn't notice the, like this, and the next thing you know, I'd be on my face.
Well, then the pitch that it's on, and if you're walking through the pine needles, I mean, it might as well be a skating rink. I mean, it's ice skating rink. It's pretty slippery.
Especially this weekend, man. They got a bunch of rain. Woo, that.
Yeah, and watch out for falling trees.
What was that? I mean, I saw the video of that, and I was like, what is happening? Why are 3 trees falling on the course?
That didn't look like real life, man. That was wild.
And that looked like a movie set or something. I was like, and people are like looking up, and there's like stuff falling off of them. I'm like, did Godzilla enter the woods? Like, what is happening?
So you want to know my conspiracy theory around that?
Yes, please.
So all the azaleas you see, I believe they ship in. And I'm like, I wonder if those trees were even mature enough to have roots yet. If they just came in and they're like, we need a couple of trees here, plop, plop. And then all of a sudden the rain and wind came and just knocked them over. That's how I'm a lunatic.
I wouldn't call you a lunatic. That sounds perfectly plausible to me. Are you kidding? No, I mean, look, as so many of these courses are so heavily manicured. I mean, they are tweaked to within an inch of their lives, and every blade of grass. Like I read somewhere that they said that, like, when you go there, you never see a single weed. I'm like, that's not natural. That just feels like a betrayal of the natural world all by itself. Like, we like plucking weeds out, and like so I wouldn't surprise me. They're like, let's get some trees out here and plunk them in, and because especially if your root system. And I say this speaking as someone who has some knowledge of trees, because we just planted a tree in our front yard.
You're a part-time arborist.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I am now. Apparently, last night I became that guy who stood out in his yard at like 7:00 at night, watering his tree, just standing out there. Neighbors, how's it going? I'm watering.
Yeah, if I'm watering at night, it's after a couple of pops.
Oh, well, it was, and I'm just standing there, holding this hose, like filling this bowl with.
Now you're just bragging.
It's so sad. It's so sad. I mean, it's just like, come on, man. And and there's nothing to do. You can't stand there and like, it's just, you're just standing in your front yard like a moron. At least in my backyard, nobody sees me.
Yeah, you can hide it a little bit.
If I'm watering the grass, I can stand out there and I can stand and be an idiot. I can and have pee if I need to. Well, I'm watering.
There you go. It's your yard.
It's my yard. In the front yard, not so much. Hell, I even have to feel like I need to make sure that my hair is straight when I go in the front yard.
I don't care that much.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. I can't go out there in my underwear though. I could, but I'm not sure.
My wife got so mad at me. We forgot to put the trash out one day, and I came sprinting out of the house at like 6:30 in the morning as the trash guys are coming in my boxers, and my wife was pissed.
What?
I'm like, hey, it's about priorities, and it's about dedication to the job, and I'm not going to let lack of clothing interrupt that.
Hey, if that trash comes by on my side of the street, then my trash can goes to the other side of the street, because I'm not missing out on that.
That's thinking. Especially
at like this weekend, we had the whole family here, 3 dogs, 2 kids, 2 additional adults.
Can't let that pile up.
No, that's now we're just trailing off into home discussion. But listen, you get it all here, which again is why you should be sponsoring this podcast. Hey, maybe you're a landscaping company.
There you go.
Just saying. Keep it real. Think about it. All right. Blummer, and what do you got going? It's 2 more games in Pittsburgh before we head to the Rangers. How are you feeling about the? Oh, I forgot to ask about the skybox. How is the skybox? You're like way up.
So
Are you way stuck up like at 50 stories above the field?
yes, we're very elevated. I like to watch the game on the field, but here I watch the game on the monitor because if I'm watching, I can't tell where the fly balls are going
Mm-hmm.
or how far they're hit, so it's a little bit tougher. But as far as sight lines, being able to see the field and downtown,
Yeah, you got
incredible.
to snap some photos of that
Love
for
it.
Insta. We got to see
Yeah,
those.
it's unbelievable. Yeah, I just posted a picture today that has I'm we're on air and you can see the in the background the backdrop's unbelievable just because you can see downtown. But yeah, it's not the best place to call a game, but it's a great place to watch the game. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's
No,
beautiful.
well, as you've got great scenery. I mean, that's with the 3
Hmm.
rivers and everything else. I mean, that would be really cool. I would think just because, especially because you have a monitor, so you don't have to worry too much if you can't see what's going on or whatever.
Yeah,
You get the added scenery.
yeah. It
So
was funny. Julia's like, "Did you see a Braves reaction?" I'm like, "Dude, I can't see shit up here."
did you see a Braves reaction? I can't see his head, let
Yeah,
alone the
I'm
reaction
over
on his
there playing.
face.
When they play you, when you
Exactly.
squish the people from far away, I'm like, that's all. That's the only game I can
Exactly.
play.
They're basically just ants for you at this point.
Hmm.
They're just
Yep.
scrambling around on the field. It's like a flea circus. You have no
Yeah.
idea. Did you
Very
see
well
his
coordinated
reaction?
flea circus.
Say,
Yeah.
Julia, have you been up here? Have you,
I've
like,
got I've got I've got cotton balls stuffed up my nose trying to watch this game, man.
do they pressurize the cabin?
Yeah, I've got
It's
I've
like
got
a
oxygen tanks. I've got yeah.
nice. All right, we'll be back next week with a fresh pod brought to you by Bet Online. Big thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks for all over the world, you guys. I noticed the other day we're like in the top 20 in baseball podcasts in Sweden. So
Hey man, that's the motherland.
that is your motherland, isn't it?
Yes.
That's where you get your paleness from.
Oh man, that's where
From
I get the translucent skin. Yep.
you in Sweden, me in Denmark.
There
That's
you go.
that's how it is. A couple of
I didn't know
Nordic people.
we were Vikings.
That's exactly right. So thanks so much for liking and subscribing and commenting. Hit us up on social media. We're very thankful for all of you guys. Obviously, a continued big series in Pittsburgh, and then really, I think a big series this weekend against the Rangers at Minute Maid Park.
Yeah, get out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get out there and watch it. I think it's going to be super fun. I will be at the game on Monday against the Blue Jays. I'm not going to get out there this weekend, but I'll be out there on
Can
Monday.
we meet?
Yeah, right. Let's do that.
That's a
Blummer and I,
dirty secret on this
yeah,
podcast
the
is we've
dirty
never
secret is
physically
Blummer and I have
seen each
never
other.
been in. We've been in rooms, or at least in a similar space to one another, but we've never actually spoken face to face. This is the wonders of modern technology in this
Is it going to
world.
ruin it? Is it going to ruin it?
But I told you what my friend said. My friend said at some point you have to, or it's just going to get weird. I still want to go out to that home run place in Katy, though.
Oh, dude, we should.
That
You know
looks
what? We could
so
actually. I can
cool.
convince them to record it. We could record a podcast
We
out
should
there.
do that. That looks
I got to
so
make that
cool.
happen.
I was
Either there or St. Arnold for sure.
at the Sugarland game. They have one of those batting cages where it
Yeah.
has the screen up or whatever. And I
Oh,
saw the
dude.
ones. It pops up out of the ground. It's like is it like an
Yes.
air thing that shoots it up out of the ground? How's that work?
I don't know how they facilitate that, but I know it's perfect and
So cool.
it's bigger than you think it would be. It's gorgeous. They've done a really good job. It's
That is super
fantastic.
cool.
And the wiffle ball field,
Right.
my daughters are asking me. They're like, "Dad, can we rent out the wiffle ball field for a party?" I'm like, I don't know. We'll ask. Why not?
Dude, wiffle ball field sounds awesome. Like
Yeah,
I told you my
they made it
buddy.
kind of look like Sandlot too, with the wood paneling
Oh,
and
did
stuff.
they
It's
really?
gorgeous.
Oh, see,
Yeah,
see, I'm not a golfer, so Top Golf is not really. I mean, I'll go out there and swing. If you want to
hmm
hand me a golf club and a golf ball and give me a bunch of drinks, I'll go out there and make a mess of things for sure. But I like with baseball, I haven't. I mean, I do. I will
you don't need
say,
to.
I need to go
Yeah,
to. I need to go to a batting cage just to get a few swings in. I'll play
Mm-hmm.
catch every once in a while with my buddy. We'll get out there and throw the baseball around, but swinging a bat, it's been a while. Do they allow aluminum? Do you get the ping, or is it only
No,
wood?
they have bats already there for you,
Yeah.
and they're different sizes, different weights. I mean, they've got a bat for every swing ability. I mean, it's very encouraging to go try and hit the ball. It's
Including
good.
major leaguers like yourself.
Yeah, it measures bat speed and exit velocity. Let's go.
What was your best?
I think I only got to like 87. I wasn't really trying.
Yeah.
But
Still.
I was still able to get it out of the ballpark, Come on.
I don't even want to see my numbers. I just want to go out there and hit the ball. I want to pretend that the ball is Rob Manfred. Did I say that out loud?
Yeah, you can.
All right, I did. Well, thanks everybody. Look out for that. Let's figure that out. I would love to do that. Get out there and
I'll talk to them and see what they say.
All right, guys. Thanks again for listening. Have an excellent rest of the week and into the weekend. I hope the Astros destroy the Rangers, like smash them down on their heads like they're tiny ants, like Blummer looking at it from a skybox. Squeeze them like they're ants. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll talk to you guys next week, and go Astros.